What do you know about chef's hats? Chef Carême's toque was 45.72 centimeters cm high and had many folds. Another famous French chef, Auguste Escoffier, started a system to make kitchen tasks more efficient in 1890. He did this by clearly ranking chefs and giving each one a specific role. Under his system, the most senior chef wears the tallest toque. The height of the toque decreases for chefs of lower rank, and this practice continues now. The folds on a toque also have a special meaning. Traditionally, 100 folds meant the chef knew 100 recipes or 100 ways to cook eggs. However, a standard toque now usually only has 48 or 50 folds. These days, restaurant chefs mainly wear toques in formal instances. There are a number of more casual head covers that can function in the same way. Some of these are beanies, berets, hairnets, bandanas, or baseball caps. The next time you see a chef, take a look at their hat. It might tell you something about them.
Today's warm-up quiz is, the restaurant has a blank feel, so you don't need to wear anything too fancy. A. Effective. B. Tasty. C. Casual. D. Impressive.
You have 15 seconds to think about it. Time's up.
Hello everyone, welcome to English for You. I am Mike.
I'm Claire.
Yes, you are. You almost forgot for a second there. We are back here with day 2 of our look at fancy chef hats. I guess we can call them French chef hats, although as we learned yesterday, no, they were first used in Assyria in like 600 BC, which was completely surprising to me personally because normally you see these in nice restaurants in the kitchen on the heads of the chefs, and they are called... They are called toques, exactly right. They are called toques. We're thinking of those tall hats. I've seen a couple actually. Some of them are sort of like a tower. It's very straight. Some of them it looks kind of like a mushroom. Right? It's kind of puffy on the top and they might kind of push it to the side in a cool way. But I think the traditional one, they are actually often quite tall, like a tower kind of thing. And originally it was supposed to look like the crown of the king of Assyria, which is also very interesting. But then we jumped forward to like, what is it, 1820 or something. This very famous French chef, Marie-Antoine Carême, also brought these back. And it was more to sort of show how professional and clean the chefs were, right? To make sure that everyone was confident that the kitchen was clean, the chefs were clean, their clothes were clean, and the food was being made very well and very carefully. So let's stick with Monsieur Carême, this famous French chef, and actually talk about how big his toque was. How do they know this?
Yeah, it's very precise.
It's very interesting. Maybe it's still there in a toque museum in Paris or something. I'll have to look for it next time I'm there. But it says Chef Carême's toque was 45.72 centimeters high and had many folds. We're not saying it's 46 centimeters. We could, but it was 45.72. So let's see, that's about 30 centimeters. That's a pretty high hat.
Yeah.
That's a pretty tall. How did he get through the door? Did he have to put his head down or crouch down? Like, anyways, whatever. He made it work. Or maybe they just kept them in the kitchen to keep them clean. That's true. And here's another interesting detail. It had many folds. So it was designed, it actually looked and was made in a special way. And yeah, often when people want to make clothes look a little more fancy, they might put folds in them. So let's talk about that word. All right, fold, this is a good word because it's both a verb and a noun. When you take something soft that you can kind of bend, you can fold it, often with paper. If you've ever made a paper airplane, you take a big piece of paper, you put this side like this, make little triangles, do the thing down the middle, put the wings, and then woo, you got an airplane. So you fold that paper. A lot of people might know Japanese origami, that art where you take paper and turn it into birds or animals or something by folding the paper in various ways. Or after your clothes are washed, when you put them away, you put them together like this and then put them like this. That is to fold. So anywhere that something has been turned over like that, that part of the paper is a fold. Okay, so you point to that part. I made a fold and now here is a fold. And yes, sometimes clothes, like think of a girl's skirt that might have those lines in it where it's actually kind of been bent over on itself. It's been folded. So that's why we talk about it both as a noun, to make that thing, to fold, and what the shape is after you've made it, that is a fold. For example, Rachel carefully ironed the folds in her new skirt. It was made that way. She wants to make sure those lines, those folds, are nice and straight.
好，所以我们刚刚看到 fold 这个单字，它可以是动词，也可以是名词。那这边是用名词的用法，是指布的那个折，或是呢，你也可以是折纸的那个折痕，或是折衣服。好 ，so for example, be careful not to create unwanted folds when folding your clothes。所以它就代表说，哦，折衣服时要小心哦，不要弄出不想要的皱褶。
All right, now let's move a little bit closer to now, about 70 years or so, and find another famous French chef. Another famous French chef, Auguste Escoffier, started a system to make kitchen tasks more efficient in 1890. This guy is a god in the history of kitchens, and he's most well known not only for being a great chef. I think he was the original chef at the Ritz Hotel in Paris, which is still there, but also he was well known for organizing kitchens in a modern way that is still used. It made them more efficient. Back in the old days, it was sort of like, you make this and you make this. Oh, they want soup. Well, you make the soup. But he kind of organized it and made it efficient. When something is efficient, it works well without wasting a lot of time or energy or money or anything like that. Okay, so walking is a pretty efficient way to get around, right? It's powered by you. You don't have to burn gas. It doesn't cost you any money. But hey, if you get yourself a bicycle using the same energy, you can go a lot further. That's very efficient, right? So when we talk about doing things in a way that doesn't waste time or money or energy, we're talking about it being efficient. In the morning, if you wake up and go to the kitchen and take a bite of an apple, then go to your bedroom and put on one sock, and then go back to the kitchen and take another bite, and then back to your bed. That's not an efficient way to get ready for work or school. You're wasting a lot of time. That's not efficient. It's efficient to do things in an organized, planned out way. Here's another good example. The MRT is usually a very efficient way to get around Taipei. You don't have to wait for buses at lunchtime. If you're going home at rush hour, a car can be really slow because all the other cars are out there. Walking, it's okay. It's free, but it'll take a lot of time. So MRT is very efficient. It gets a lot of stuff done, gets you a long distance without too much hard work.
所以这个 efficient 呢，它是一个形容词，就是有效率或是效率高的。Another example, using a dishwasher is more efficient than washing dishes by hand. Yeah, you know,
in time, but not in wasting water or electricity.
Right. But I'm definitely gonna get one because I hate washing dishes.
There's different ways to judge how efficient something is. Right. Anyway, so how did Escoffier make the kitchen more efficient? How did he organize it? He did this by clearly ranking chefs and giving each one a specific role. So if you go into a kitchen, these people grill the meat. These people make the salad. These people make the bread and the desserts. These people do soups and sauces. It's organized kind of like a team like that, where everyone knows their job. And also they have ranks. There's the executive chef, the head of this, the head of that, kind of like an army or a company is organized with different positions or different ranks. Now, you can use rank as a position when soldiers have those those stars or the stripes on their arms. That shows their rank. But we can also use it as a verb to put things from most important to less important, from number 1 to number 10, to kind of show where they are in comparing them to other people at different levels. For example, Lydia ranked her top 10 favorite movies of all time. And number 1 would be her favorite. Number 10, not so much, but still good.
Right, 所以这个 rank 呢，还是动词，它是根据重要性啊，或是规模等等去做排序。
All right, under his system, I think it might be called the Escoffier system, and it's still used today. The most senior chef wears the tallest toque. So you know who's the boss, who's in charge. You just look for the big hat.
Yeah, it's so easy to spot.
What if the senior chef is really short? It could get a little confused. Or you'd have to wear a really, really big hat.
Right.
I don't know. Anyway. Let's go back to the word senior. All right, this adjective senior, well, it can often mean older, like a senior person could be an older person. But here we're not talking about age. We also use senior, maybe more frequently, to talk about experience or rank, your position. If you're a senior person in the company, you've probably been there longer than other people. The oldest students at a school are often called the seniors, right? They're the oldest level or the highest class, and then they will leave soon after, maybe next year. And seniors can also just be, you've been around, you have the experience, you know more than other people. You're the one with the most knowledge, the most experience, the most senior member of a group or an organization. And we often use it in people's title, in their name of their job. For example, the senior manager called a quick meeting with the junior salespeople. Senior will be older, junior will be younger.
好，所以我们看到这个单字 senior， 它是一个形容词，代表级别或是地位比较高的，或是高级的。So for example, senior high school. Yeah, 好，那 another example would be she felt nervous presenting in front of the senior managers. 好，所以他在高层经理面前报告时候会感到紧张。那 senior 当名词的时候呢，会是长辈。Don't say old people. It's very, very rude.
Yeah, and even senior people is just a little weird. In English, we might say elderly people.
Right.
Elderly, that's the most polite. All right, back to the toque. It says the height of the toque decreases for chefs of lower rank, and this practice continues now. So if it's your first time working in a fancy restaurant, you'll have a pretty low or not a very tall hat. And as you're there longer and longer and get better and better and more senior, your hat will get higher and higher. And that's something that you still see today in many traditional restaurants. It says the folds on a toque also have a special meaning. So the way they're folded also has, that's kind of like xiaolongbao.
Yeah.
Right? The number of folds also has a special meaning. Now we have to talk about this word rank first.
Yes, so rank 这个是一个名词，是职位的意思。So I used to play in orchestra, 管弦乐团呢。I played the flute because it was my minor at that time. 那各位知道，当你在看管弦乐团的时候啊，可以根据每个演奏家坐的位置，分辨谁是最厉害的吗？ So that's because seating in an orchestra is not random. It's carefully planned. So how do they decide where everyone sits? It's based on rank, 就是我们今天在讲的这个单字，就是排序。
And do they call it the senior flute or is it first flute? First flute, but that could be, that's the same as saying senior. Yeah,
right. 首席。
All right, so let's talk about those folds. This, of course, is the whole hat. So it says traditionally 100 folds meant the chef knew 100 recipes or 100 ways to cook eggs. Okay, I could name like 6 or 7, 100 ways to cook eggs, or they just know 100 different recipes. That is clearly a very experienced chef. I mean, I might be able to cook 100 things, but I would need 100 cookbooks. I couldn't remember all that stuff. This is knowledge that they knew, so clearly these guys were very experienced if they know the recipe or basically how to make and what you need to make a certain type of food.
Right, 所以这个 recipe 呢，就是一个名词，食谱或是一个烹饪法。那常常会用 a recipe for， 然后加食物。So for example, a recipe for pancakes, a recipe for fried rice.
Okay. I might know those recipes, but that's not too complicated. No. However, it says, so 100 folds, that was the old style, and I guess they're not quite as fancy anymore. It says, however, a standard toque now usually only has 48 or 50 folds. Maybe it was just too complicated. Maybe the folds got dirt in them or something. They're just too much to make. But anyway, so a standard toque today will have 48 or 50 folds, and I'm not sure it actually means something. That's just, what you see today.
对，所以这边呢就在说到，现在标准的高帽呢，通常是只有48或50道的折痕。
Yeah. So it says these days, restaurant chefs mainly wear toques in formal instances. So maybe you'll go to a restaurant on a normal night and they won't be wearing them. But if it's a special night, if it's New Year's Eve, if there's a VIP guest, they might bring out the toques to wear them today. Okay, what is an instance? Well, this is a word that can have a lot of different meanings, but basically we use it about when something happens. And often it's something a little bit different or a little unusual, and we want to kind of show that this is how often it happens or this when it happened or something like that. So there could be many instances in your life of some kind or another. There were a few instances when you were young that you didn't go to school because there was a typhoon day or something like that. There were a few instances when you had to take a taxi to school because you woke up late or it was raining too hard or the buses weren't working or something like that. So it's a time when something happened, and usually that something is interesting or special, or you're just talking about it as being different from other things that might happen in your life. For example, the police recorded one instance of a person drowning in the flood last week. That situation, that sad situation, happened one time in the big flood that we had last week. And we also had the term these days. These days.
These days 就是现在或是如今。So for example, people take more photos with their phones than with cameras these days. 大家都用你的手机拍照了嘛。好，那另外一个字 instance 就会是名词情况，所以这边呢正式的情况 formal instances. For example, in some instances, it's better to listen than to speak.
Sometimes when things happen, yes, it's better to shut up than to talk. Back to the article, there are a number of more casual head covers that can function in the same way. We've mentioned this a few times. Not all chefs and cooks will wear toques. They can wear lots of other things, really just to cover their hair, stop sweat from coming down their face, stop hair from falling out, and I guess also to stop their hair getting greasy, right? Because when you're cooking, there can be things, smoke, and you don't want that in your hair. It can get very dirty. So something casual is more relaxed. It's less formal, right? If you're going to a fancy party, you might wear really fancy clothes, a special suit, a beautiful dress. If it's something like a beach party or a barbecue, you might wear something casual, jeans, shorts, a t-shirt. It's a little bit different. So we're just talking about very special and fancy, or just more normal and everyday. For example, I don't think those casual clothes are really appropriate for the wedding. Do you have something a little nicer to wear or something a little more formal to wear?
好，那同学们是不是想到了今天的 warm-up quiz 呢？ The restaurant has a blank feel, so you don't need to wear anything too fancy. 这边的 A, effective, 有效的 B, tasty, 美味的、可口的 C, casual, 随意的、非正式的 D, impressive, 令人印象深刻的。好，所以我们句子里面看到 has a 什么样子的感觉，所以你不需要穿太正式的服装啊，那应该会是 casual， 就会是比较随意的，比较没有这么正式的，所以答案是 C。
All right, let's get back to our article. Some of these, the more casual things that many chefs and cooks will wear on their heads, not the toques. Some of these are beanies, berets, hairnets, bandanas, or baseball caps. And 4 out of 5 of them start with the letter B. That's weird.
Right. Okay, so we see so many different hats. We have beanies, 它就是无帽檐贴合头部的帽子。这个就是大家in winter you see a lot of people wear this kind of hats.
Yep.
Or the next one,
A beret.
Beret,
A
它是一个
beret.
厨师的贝雷
I
帽。
haven't seen that too often, but yeah,
Right.
okay, I could cover your head, cover your hair, that's fine. What about hairnets?
Hairnet 就是发网，非常的直觉。Net 是网嘛。So I think the chef in 鼎泰丰 sometimes they wear hairnets.
Yeah, in some countries or cities, it's the law. If you're in a restaurant, you have to wear a hairnet. So that's possible. What about the next one?
Yeah, so bandana.
Bandana. That's not a banana. They're not wearing a banana. It's a bandana. That could either be kind of tied over your head or they kind of fold it up and wrap it around like a headband.
Right, so 它是一个头巾或是发带。那最后一个呢，就会是 baseball caps.
Yeah, very easy, very casual, and very common. So back to the article. The next time you see a chef, take a look at their hat. Just look at it. Don't take it off their head and go, oh, let me see their hat. No, just, look at it as they're working. It might tell you something about them, especially if it's a really, really tall toque.
Right, he's very good. Oh, she's very good at their job.
Super fancy chef.
所以喜欢今天的主题吗？不要忘了按赞、订阅、分享我们的 YouTube 频道和 Facebook 哟。
All right, our chat question for you guys and for each other here. What kinds of clothes or uniforms can show rank? Ooh, good question.
So, just like what we talked about, chefs can have different heights.
Yes.
Also military uniforms.
Absolutely. Yeah, they'll all kind of be the same color, but all those stripes, the stars, the markings on the shoulders or the arms, that's a good one. Also, a simple one, doctors, right? A full doctor in a hospital wear the long white coat.
That's right.
And the interns, the junior student doctors, will wear the shorter white coat. So that's another simple one you can find. And I'm sure you guys can think of many, many, many other options or examples. Have a chat about that. Be careful with your toques, if you have one. And always make sure to, yes, cover your head when you're in the kitchen, because I don't really want your hair in my food.
Ooh.
I paid for soup, not for hair. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Bon appetit. And bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Fold. Daisy ironed and pressed each fold of the skirt to make it smooth and straight again. Efficient. This new washing machine is very efficient. It can save a lot of water and time. Rank. The teacher will rank the essays according to how well the students answered the main question. Senior. As a senior member of the team, Lucy often makes important decisions during big projects. Instance. It was a rare instance when the small shop stayed open later than 9 p.m. Casual. Friday's event will be casual, so you don't need to dress too formally. Jeans and a t-shirt would be fine.
智慧小补帖。
Recipe.
轻松学英文，现在就加入空中美语空中家教官方 LINE。